So guys, we've got two great looking irons here. We've got the new T150s and the new i240s from Ping. Two very sort of similar irons in terms of who they're kind of orientated towards. They're both going to be that player's iron for that person who's looking for that classic finish and feel, but with maybe a little bit of forgiveness there. So with the Ping i240s, they are actually cast, but there's an elastic polymer in the head which is meant to kind of soften up the feel of them. So nice and forgiving club overall, and from some feedback we've had, they actually feel like a forged iron, but with the forgiveness of a cast one. So that would be quite interesting. And then the redesigned T150, one of the nicest looking irons I've seen in a long time. This year Titleist have got quite a good emphasis on expanding the fitting kit. So you can see the screw in the iron head here. That's to adjust head weight when you're custom fitting shaft lengths and things like that. And also they've got the revised cogs, so we've got a few more options in there. Redesigned grooves, so even in bottomy heel strikes and stuff like that, it's just meant to keep the spin nice and consistent. And the redesigned sole, a little bit more bounce, a bit better turf interaction on those. But the T150s, they didn't need a lot doing to them really. Still lots of tungsten in there for forgiveness. So we're going to hit a few shots with each of them and see what one comes out on top. Cool. So we're going to kick things off with the T150. Very familiar look to it. Like I say, just a slight redesign over the last one with a little bit different grooves, especially on the lower irons, just to, as I say, keep spin consistent. So going to hit a few, see what we think. All right, let's get a couple just to get the feel of it. Looks wise, it's classic Titleist. If you're familiar with any of the previous Titleist clubs, this will be not too far away from those. Nice, that was nice. Very good speed for me off an iron like this, like 120 ball speed. Loads and loads of spin. A little bit high, I'm just not taking as much loft off as I should, but let's hit a few. That should be better. Let's have a look. 120 ball speed again. 6,500 spin, 165 carry. So it's landing nice and soft at 51 degrees. Stopping within about 5 yards on a fairway. That's going to stop nice and quickly on the green. That is nice. Very nice. Doesn't really feel like I've got to swing, too hard at it to get the speed out of it. And for someone like me who likes these sort of players looking clubs, but for me, I always struggle delivering a bit too much loft to the ball. Something like a T150 being slightly stronger lofted is just ideal for me really there. Yeah, that is nice. A couple more. Cool. Wow. 122 ball speed, we're getting quicker. Probably warming up a bit, to be fair. Loads of spin, loads and loads of spin. There's more spin that you'd ever really need on an iron like this. But the nice thing with that, if you do want to kind of knock a bit of spin off, hit something a bit lower, you've always got the option to do that. See if we can do one of those. Yeah, so just punched it out a bit lower. Just if you're trying to flight one into the wind or something like that. Yeah, so just kept it a little bit lower. It's still gone a very similar distance, to be fair. It's just launched slightly lower, so 160 carry. But that's a nice thing with this sort of iron, it's going to be really workable. It's still nice and forgiving. I feel like I'm hitting these pretty well, but see if we can get a slight miss on them. Maybe a touch out the heel. Ball speed's still above 121. 160, wow, yeah, so not really lost anything, so ever so slightly out the heel. Yeah, still carried that 165 mark. That is nice. All right, I'm just going to do one more. I'm just going to try and hit like a nice little cut that I try and do sometimes. yeah, kind of like that. Not cutting a huge amount, but just with that excess spin, it's just going to be so much more controllable than something that, you know, you're always fighting to have the spin on it. So yeah, really impressed with that, really impressed. I like the T150 anyway. This one, just a slight redesign. For me, who's, you know, fairly steep into the ball attack angle, getting close to -5, having that bit more bounce and that extra, you know, relief in the turf interaction is really going to be nice for someone like me. So I'm very impressed with that. It's going to take a lot for the i240 to beat that, in my opinion. Okay, i240, like I say, that T150, I did really like that. So this is going to take a lot of work to beat it, but let's see. Nice. Slightly different noise. It looks very similar. You've obviously got that Ping sort of trademark white line on the bottom, which I do quite like, just to help make sure the face is square. Yeah, not a good one. Let's get a nice one. Slightly bottomy, but it'll be good to see how that does. Yes, it's still, you know, a yard short of 160, so this is definitely going to be, I'd say, the more forgiving option, if that's of interest. Yeah, it's close. I don't feel like I'm striking it as well, but it's just something about the weight of it slightly off, I think, for me. I don't know what it is. Yeah, you can definitely tell, you know, if you're not striking it that great like I am at the moment with these sort of harder range balls, you can tell it's not forged iron. Even though you do have that insert to soften it up, you can still tell. That was decent. Yeah. Let's say not quite as quick. You know, I was getting up to sort of 122 ball speed with the T150. Numbers are still good, don't get me wrong, they're still good, but I did like that 150. There we go, that's hit well. Yeah. So similar ball speed, they are very similar, to be fair. Very similar ball speed off that one. I did hit that one well. Still got loads of spin on. I just don't feel quite as comfortable with it, with that 150. Let's do one more. Yeah, again, hit well. Good ball speed. Sorry guys, I'm out of breath. It's really hot out here today. Yeah, loads of spin, loads of speed. They're going to be very similar, guys. I'd say the i240 is going to be marginally more forgiving, but for me personally, I just felt so comfortable in that 150. You can tell these aren't forged as well, so there's pros and cons to each one, I'd say. Okay, so there we go, guys. I hope that gives you just a quick insight into these two irons with some numbers to go along with it as well. I really like both of them. Don't get me wrong, I really like both of them. I think they're both going to do really well this year. But for me, the winner's got to be the T150. Just immediately felt comfortable with it. It was giving me all the numbers that, you know, I like and look for. It was really quick. I could get the same out of the i240s, especially those two I hit at the end. The numbers were very similar. I just didn't feel as comfortable with it, and I do prefer the feel of the T150s ever so slightly. But if you are someone after that, you know, 150 look, but just wants a tiny bit more forgiveness, that's where the i240 is going to come into play for you. But for me, it's got to be the 150. So thanks for watching this video, guys. If you remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content, and we'll see you guys again in the studio soon.